Welcome to the Creative Journeys with the Halfling and the Spaceman. We love talking to creators about their creative journeys. And today we are super excited to have with us Becky-Lee Evans. She is a costumer, a seamstress, an artist, and a maker. Wow. She is also the founder of Going Ape Costume. Welcome, Becky-Lee.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I am doing well. How are you?
Doing well.
Good.
We're gonna have to talk about the name of that company.
Oh, so long time ago, I was 19 and I needed a job. I needed a job bad. And I see this little ad in the paper. So this was 30 years ago. Little ad in the newspaper, no internet yet. It says we need a costume manager at a costume rental in Provo, Utah. And I called. They were interested. I'd been making costumes since I was little, and I told them I might have fudged. But I told them I have sewing skills and I can do this, and I've done this, and I've done this. And they said, "Do you work for minimum wage?" And I'm like, "I need a job." And that's how I started. I was 19 and needed a job.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, about your general background.
I grew up in Utah County, which is a crafty, crafty, crafty place. And so growing up, being a kid in the late 70s, early 80s, all girls learned how to sew. We learned how to make things. We learned how to quilt. We learned all the homemaking things. And when I got to be an older child, Star Wars, there's
Oh,
Star Wars. There's all the good sci-fi movies and the cartoons and the 70s anime and He-Man and I everything that kind of nerdy. That was for me. And I thought dressing up as a robot or wizards, witches, that was awesome. That was what I wanted to do. In fact, when I was 10 years old, I thought Boy George was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen and made my Halloween costume that year as Boy George, which,
oh wow.
my neighbors were like, "That's you're a strange child." But I mean, um, and then so dressing up and making things and being heavily into art was just a part of my whole childhood. So when I was 19 and needed a job, it was a good fit.
Very good. Spaceman?
So, Becky, we like to talk to people from the point of view of their fan loves. What was your earliest fan love?
Oh gosh. Wonder Woman. I
Ooh,
mean,
good one.
Linda Carter's Wonder Woman
Ah,
and the Hulk. So I mean, growing up, little girls, we weren't really in Utah County. You didn't read comic books. That was inappropriate. But I still got my share. And then when Wonder Woman, she's turning around and it flashes. I
mm-hmm.
just that was mind blowing for me. And I loved horror movies too. I
Oh.
mean, just a little jump scares and blood and gore. That was awesome. But yeah, Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman. Um,
Yeah.
but fandom isn't something that I usually pay much attention to now as a cosplayer.
Mm.
I have things I like, but in cosplay, I make for the challenge, and so fandom is way down on the list.
Huh. And is that something that I guess I'm just curious, and I want to make sure we stay on track. But is that something that you found yourself, that that has sort of been a progression, as you've grown in your costume making and your, in your company and everything? Is that, the fandom has just gone further and further down as time progresses?
Uh, I'm in it for the challenge. So
Mm,
whether I enjoy what I'm making on a personal level is that's way secondary to me enjoying the challenge of making the thing.
mhm,
So that looks hard to make. I want to figure out how to make it.
mhm,
Sometimes what figures in is the fandoms my kids enjoy. So I have 3 sons. They're all grown. They're into D&D. They're into video games. They're into Doom. And one of my more famous cosplays is a Revenant from Doom 2016, and that's something my oldest son is really into. And so he showed me the new monsters when that game came out, and I thought I want to make that because that looks hard
mm.
and really challenge myself. The challenging is fun for me.
Okay. Well, when, as you were growing up, well, I guess even now, do the people around you kind of get you and understand you know, your creativity and your need to do this? Are you pretty well supported by those around you, or do some people look at you and think,
I
okay, she
so
she
yeah,
makes costumes,
so my
yeah.
dad's a machinist, and
Oh,
so he understood making things something from nothing.
mm-hmm,
And then his mother, crafter artist, and his sister, crafter artist. So uh, learning from being handy like my dad, and then there's my female relatives who taught me so much growing up. It was they thought what I was making was strange. Why don't you make a quilt? No, I want to make a quilt. Uh, while the subject matter I was making was weird, um, that I was making things was not weird. So I always had access to tools or advice or how to make things. So I just took it in a direction. They went, "What? What was that?"
Becky, you mentioned earlier that your fandom doesn't really drive your cosplay fabrication anymore. Did it when you first started?
Um, yeah, I um I had a Halloween business for a long time, so obviously I wanted to make things that other people would enjoy. And likewise I enjoyed them. So that's where I started. Um, but that was really broad in the Halloween sense. But mostly I wanted to look cool. So I mean, that translated into a lot of things. I wanted to do cool things. And so, of course, that starts with what you're exposed to. But now, these days it doesn't matter if I enjoy it or not. But um, I thought, what was the big movie when I entered that job? Batman.
mm,
So Batman Returns was the big movie, I believe. And Catwoman was really compelling to me because that was a sewing challenge
mm-hmm.
at the time. The Batman suit was compelling. Um, there was a couple good horror movies at the time, but yeah, fandom has always kind of been, yeah, it's secondary. Um, I it's yeah, make cool things, make cool things. I can see that the fandom is important I is that important in what you guys do, is expressing that fandom?
Yeah, actually, for us, it is because we came at this because we were creators ourselves. We've been publishing for a while, um, and we just met so many wonderful people that had so many great stories to tell that we wanted to share them.
Yeah, the when I go to a con and people will see me wearing something, and I freely admit that it's not, I'm not super into the thing, but it can start a conversation. You tell me about the thing, and they light up, and you're sharing a thing. It That is super fun to be in that part of the community where I do a Predator. I've never seen the movie. I've researched enough so I don't make it like a huge fandom mistake, but a lot of people, they know that character. They love that movie and they tell me all about it. And it's the best thing ever. Someday I'll watch it.
Well, you mean hearing all of these people talk to you about, about it hasn't convinced you to watch it yet?
Right now, it's just kind of like a vendetta. I'll get to it someday.
Well, tell us what you're working on right now, if you
um,
can.
so I made a octopus. So this is all foam. I made an octopus a couple of years ago. I meant to put it into a cosplay competition. And then when I finished most of the cosplay, I hated it. I hated it.
Although
I call it the aquatic cupcake. I'm walking around with kind of floof around me and this octopus across my chest, and I'm like, oh no, no, this is not working. But I've been asked to judge the cosplay contest at Salt Lake FanX next month. And I need most of my cosplays are really big, they're unwieldy, and they would like to see something on stage when I come out. And
Mhm.
last time I judged, I did a closet cosplay of Wendy Torrance from The Shining, which did not translate very well on stage. Brown corduroy jumpsuit,
Yeah.
boots. It looked better in closer, but it was a little mumsy. So I am remaking my mermaid, and we're going to put a darker dress on it, more tailored. I got a different wig, so I'm hoping to wear that at Salt Lake FanX next month. Basically, I want to take pictures with kids. That's fun,
Mhm.
but
Okay.
yeah, something to put on stage.
Becky, every creator has their own process for creating. Could you walk us through the process of conceiving a cosplay, developing it, and then putting it together?
Well, that's not a big question at all. um, I will usually start at base engineering. So, what do I need to create the shape I need to create? So that could be a corset, that could be, supportive undergarments, that would be maybe in the case of foam or armor, that might be the strapping or um, the cage you put on underneath so you can support all that foam. That's usually where I start. And then we'll start pieces from inside to outside. Um, if you go into my social media, you'll see I've done a very large foam spider. And where I started with that was you got to have the structure, you can't carry anything. And that was PVC pipe, which I'd heat bend to my shoulders, and a tail that came off the back that strapped across my chest, and that could carry the spider legs that went up and over. um, and a very large spider bum off the back. But I'll start with what's close to my body and work out. Um, and it all has to be very balanced, or else you're going to be hurting. Um, so yeah, it all starts with what's close to my body and out. Um, and then we pattern it as we go.
I think that one of the things that people don't think about is weight distribution for costumes or whatever. We went to a convention here a while back, and I was carrying around all our camera gear in a
Oh,
handbag. Yeah, there's a reason why photographers wear a photographer's vest.
yeah,
So, yep, weight distribution.
yeah.
You know,
When you're making all that understructure that to carry weight, whether it's a sewn costume or armor or whatnot, you think about carrying weight across here, across the waist. But if you can get it centered on your hips, that you're going to be the most comfortable. But don't carry the weight right here or up here, or else you're going to hurt.
Yeah, I was just thinking about being in junior high or high school and having all your books in a backpack.
That's exactly it. That's why the backpacks have the straps that go around your waist now.
Right. Exactly. But I just from my own personal observation and having worked at a university for 26 years, this is also true of college students, is they don't wear their backpacks properly.
No,
They
what's
you know,
one
they'll
shoulder?
sling them on a shoulder or they'll carry them, like in the crook of their arm or something, and it's like, "No, don't do that because 'cause you're totally missing the point of the design of the."
a halfling that's because they're young and their bodies don't hurt yet.
Yeah, they don't hurt much yet,
Key
but my
keyword
favorite
is
con
yet.
hotel in Salt Lake got rid of their hot tub, and let me say I am sad.
Oh. Uh, Becky-Lee, I wanted to ask you, how did you really develop your skills? Because it takes a lot of different skills to do what you do. It's almost like my brother-in-law was an elevator mechanic for years, and you have to be certified in 5 different trades. So like
Right.
electrician, etc. So I imagine that costuming is similar, but how did you develop all the different skills that you need?
Well, like I said earlier, when you grow up in Utah County, in that time you learned how to sew. It was just if you were a little girl in Utah County, that's what you did. And so I started there. I've been sewing since I was 6
Mm.
on the sewing machine. You learn how. Um, I took no sewing classes in high school. Um, I took a lot of art classes and learned how to paint. I learned how to paint figures. I learned ceramics. So I had a great basis in how to paint things from there. And then then I got the costume job and I dove in and self-taught a lot. They had a nice library and I self-taught at that point. I learned the names for things, how to do things, how to do makeup, how to style wigs. Um, I was very driven to make sure I earned that minimum wage. I didn't, that I love that job. And then at that point, I kept that job for a little while, left and went to college. I majored in home economics, amazingly, with a sewing emphasis. And they arranged for me to do most of my work in the school's theater. I went to Southern Utah University. They did not have a theater costuming degree, but that was the closest thing.
Mm.
And I had a great professor there who taught me a lot in that theater. Uh, they host the Utah Shakespearean Festival, and I did a little work for them. where I learned how to do introductory leather armor. I did, they also, not just leather armor, but fiberglass and Bondo. Um, so I learned a lot in that program. And so not just, I already had the sewing skills, and they're like, let's teach you all this. I learned how to make corsets, just all the supports that go underneath things. That's where I learned that. And then when I left school, my husband, I'd gotten married. My husband and I moved to a teeny, teeny, teeny little town, and we're still here. It's a great place to live, but that's when the internet started, and I was sad that I wouldn't be able to maybe continue at that point unless we moved again with the costuming that I loved. But we were in a tight spot, so we moved here. That's when the internet came, and that's when eBay came into my life, and I started a Halloween costuming business and didn't look back. So I over the years, I've learned a great deal, and this is why I wear this shirt. Back 2014 or so, my son had joined the Navy, and he calls home and he says, Mom, I can come home for Christmas, or I can come home for Salt Lake Comic-Con, which was new. And I said, son, I don't care which one, but it's going to be cheaper to come home in the fall and not at Christmas. So he came home for Comic-Con, and I hadn't been to one yet. And all of a sudden, there's my people. And I went to an armor making panel for that con, and I still have the little piece of hotel stationery that I took notes on how to make armor. And I got my behind to YouTube, and I learned it. And it has changed everything I've made, including this guy.
Thank goodness for YouTube tutorials.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And in that time, I took a couple woodworking, community woodworking classes, and I learned so much, and that I use that all the time.
Well, Becky-Lee, do you work in theater these days, or is most of what you do for yourself?
There is no theater where I live. I live 120 miles from a Walmart, so there is no such thing. Everything I do is really internet focused. Without an internet community, I don't know what I would be doing. But everything is possible, and the people I know and the people I talk to and the things I learn, it's all online. And so I make to please myself in cosplay. I still commission costumes on occasion. I have some Halloween going on. Um, but yeah, it's there's no theater. My last theater experience, um, they wanted me to perform Free Miracles, and I'm kind of done with that. So Halloween, I've always enjoyed Halloween more than I have doing theater. So Halloween was it for me.
Becky-Lee, one of the things that we have asked guests in the past is, what is the best piece of advice they have ever gotten?
That I have gotten as a maker,
Yeah.
10% more. That was art advice. And when we were drawing or getting things from our head onto paper, that artist told us at that time, you think it's done? No, add 10% more. And that's the 10% more that's going to make things pop. So a lot of people are makers, and this is so natural and so acceptable, stop a little short. And it's because, it's a little bit of fear. It's a little bit of fear. So push past that. Do 10% more, 10% bigger. And then another maker, he knows who he is, has said, don't be afraid to fail. It's the same. Failure doesn't mean anything. You come back and try again. I'm not particularly afraid to fail. I'll come back and do it again.
Becky-Lee, cosplay, costuming together and separately are big, big things. They're multidisciplinary. So if someone were wanting to start cosplay or costuming, but they were a little scared of how big it is, what skill would you recommend they develop first?
I got asked this the other day because a cosplayer wanted to start a new skill and didn't know where to start with it. And I says, well, what do you want to make? What's your dream? What is the dream thing you want to make with this skill? And he told me, and I says, okay, now we know where to start. And I was able to direct, here's the tool you need, and here's the small thing that's going to teach you. So, I mean, a lot of people get hung up on this big thing and it's frustrating and you don't know where to start. You can always ask somebody and they will tell you what's little thing to start with to put you on the road to the big thing. I'm also a fan of just jump in, and it may not look perfect, but you've learned. I mean, you can jump in with materials you have around you. There's nothing wrong with cardboard. There's nothing wrong with tape. There's nothing wrong with a little wood glue. Nothing wrong with the materials you have around you because you're going to learn. I have seen some amazing things made out of cardboard. You don't have to start with the perfect material. Just start. Just jump in.
Just start. Always
Just
excellent
start.
advice.
That is excellent advice for any creative outlet. Just start. Absolutely.
You can get to the nitpickiness of it later, but basic skills are always going to be there. They're not going to take that away from you.
That's very, very true.
Very true.
Now, Becky-Lee, it's time for us to start wrapping up. So tell our audience out there in YouTube land and iTunes and Spotify where they can find out more about you.
So you can look up Going Ape Costume on just about every platform. I'm very active on Threads. I am very active on Twitch. So if anyone has questions real time, I answer. So you can come to my Twitch stream, Going Ape Costume. I will stop what I'm doing and show you how to do a thing if I know how to do it, or my audience will tell you. Or you can ask me on Threads, and get me there. I post often on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, the usuals. Or you can see me at Salt Lake FanX coming in late September, or one anime in Layton, Utah on Halloween.
Awesome. We will get that in the show notes so people can look you up and find out about all the cool things that you do.
I will say this last little thing. I am having the best time. I am having the best time. This is awesome. If 12-year-old me could see what I was doing, if she knew. I mean, I always think that do what 12-year-old you would think was really cool. If she could see that, she would be thrilled.
That is awesome. That's the goal right there.
That is the
That
goal.
really is. That's the goal. Well, we have had such a good time talking with you today, and we really appreciate you taking the time to be with us and talk a little bit about your journey and all of the really cool things that you are doing.
Thank you.
And we want to also thank our audience for joining us today, and we hope you've become inspired and entertained by today's guest, Becky-Lee Evans.
Woo!
And this is the Spaceman for the Halfling and the Spaceman podcast. Over and out.